Okay, are we here? Are we here? Am I here? Are you here? Let's lock in. This is the third time. Third time I've tried to start the stream this evening. And you were all in the chat. You were here last time. I didn't touch nothing. I was staring off into the distance, rambling about killing chickens with teeth or so. I forget what it was, but you saw me. I didn't touch nothing. All right? I don't know what's going on. Sometimes, as I put in the title this time round, the Omnissiah just needs a slap. Now, YouTube might not like that title, so this might be demonetized, but here we go. Third time's the charm, they say. Lock it. I'm locked in. I'm locked in. I'm leaning forward at least an 80-degree angle for this. This stream may collapse at any time. Heresy Squat, thank you for your £10 donation. You absolute legend. Can we get a big GG's in the chat for Heresy Squat, please? He always comes in swinging. He's an absolute legend. Hype him up. Big him up. Much love, Heresy Squat. Thank you so much. Maybe that will pin it in there. Maybe it'll get bounced back to your bank account later. Don't know. I really don't know what's going on. I didn't touch nothing. And I wanted to talk about a few things this evening, but I think that will just go out the window as well. I've been trying to make a video. We'll talk about those things in a minute, okay? We'll talk about those things in a minute. First, let's focus on you. Something I rarely do at the start of a stream. To be honest, most of the time I try and ignore you for the first half hour because I just try and rant, try and get it all out, try and make some content, and then lock in on you guys. That's the secret sauce I found. But because you can be distracting, you guys, you can be distracting with your hair products and with your rock collections or minerals. They're minerals, not rocks. And sometimes I could start a whole bit, and then Andy H will come in and say, "Has the bit started?" And everyone laughs. There's someone at the back of the class will stand up and say something about white chocolate. It turns messy in the first half hour if I focus on you guys. But let's face it, third time we tried to pump this stream up. Let's lock in. Let's focus on yous at the start. Okay? Get my glasses on because I'm old. High blood buffalo, go Bills. Andy H distracted. Yes, D Bagus Maximus, good. You almost joined Valrak's live stream. Go to Valrak's live stream. Hundreds of people watch Valrak's live stream. It's much better than this one. Hi Jink. Hi Red Richmond. Hi Jackus Woods. Hi Andy H. Hi guys. Stephen Yates, the Eternal Crusader, Friendly Neighborhood Inquisitor. Once again, hey howdy. Yes, hi. Yeah, we are trying. The Elemental Crusader. Speaking of white chocolate, did you know white chocolate Jaffa cakes were a thing? Never watched a Valrak live stream. You haven't really. You can get when he does like reveal stuff, like they'll do the Nova Open reveal show and he'll live stream that stream of him talking about that stream. Brilliant. I mean, he's cornered the market. Gotta love the 200-page PDF file for Heresy 3.0. Yes, we do, AB. Let's talk about that, shall we? And Friendly Neighborhood Inquisitor gifted a membership. Thank you so much. Thank you, Friendly Neighborhood Inquisitor. Thank you, Heresy Squad. GG's. Which Primarch would make the best coffee? I think Gulliman, he would work on that shit. You know what I mean? He would work it out. He would work it out from a... yeah. But then again, Magnus is quite a clever guy. He might work it out. And then also, of course, Kurz, he'll make a really good coffee because there'll be some other stuff dropped in there, which will, yeah. Kurz could make a crazy coffee. You said 7 pages. Did I? 7 pages. No, there's a 200-page PDF. There's a 7-page PDF file for Horus Heresy 3.0, which is like the FAQ and errata thing. The bits that are missing that should be in there. Those are like the typos. Like Gorgon Terminators not having weapons, they have weapons. Like Tartarus Terminators not having some of the options that they have in the box. That's a typo. They've only got 7 pages of typos and erratas, things that should have actually been in the rules. We've looked at the rules beforehand for Heresy 3.0, and we've seen the pictures for the miniatures in the rule book, which you can't legally field as well. So apart from the general mistakes, oh dear, once you get those 7 pages out the way, then the internet got a bit upset because what they said was you could use the army that you could use before for the new edition, but you can't use the army that you could before for the new edition because they needed a 200-page PDF to catch up on all the legacy stuff. Now, many of those pages didn't need to be produced because, for those of you that don't play Heresy, they'll have a page like a Centurion, and it'll have the Centurion options, and it'll be one page, that's a Centurion. Or add 20 points Centurion with a jump pack. Boom. And it's the same page, add 20 points. Now in the 200 thingy bob, one of those pages is Centurion with a bike, or another commander in Terminator armor or bike. So many of those are cut and pasted data sheets that they could have just put on the standard data sheet saying, just don't add jump pack, also add bike, add jet bike, they could have done it in. So a lot of them, of the 200, is a cut and paste effort. But there are also hundreds of, there's things like Space Marines can take basilisks and manticores and storm surges. They can take guard tanks. They could take guard tanks back from 1.0 when there wasn't enough of a range. There wasn't enough Space Marines when Heresy first came out. So you could take guard stuff. And you could say a Space Marine's driving it. And it would be the same as the guard stuff, but it would hit on a 3. And so that's hung over for... And then there's half of it is full of that stuff. So some of it is cut and pasted. Half of it is full of the stuff from the guard stuff. And then there's a chunk of it from the black books, which that's the bit they shouldn't... So the guard stuff should be gone by now, in my humble opinion. It's just an opinion. It's the internet. This is what the internet's for. But there's enough of a plastic range of Space Marines now. Legacy PDF for Space Marine stuff for people who've got Basilisk. No, actually, no, they shouldn't be gone. The Space Marine Guard stuff could be on its own PDF. And then they leave that and don't touch that. That's done until they change the edition completely again like they did this. But they could lock in that one. Then all the Centurion and Commander stuff, they could have got rid of... They could have just rolled that in, but they didn't. The stuff that we needed the thing for is for the stuff that you used to be able to get in the black books, which isn't there now. Oh, and then all the weapon options that they left out for the legions that you used to be able to get for the legions that now you can get back for the legions again. So, for example, my Emperor's Children, as well as Phoenix Rapiers, getting Phoenix Power Spears. For the Iron Hands, as well as Graviton Guns, getting Graviton Shredders. For the Raven Guard, see, the thing is as well, they slotted all that stuff back in. I think that's part of the backlash, them slotting it all back in, because people were very, very upset. Don't know if you noticed, but the internet gets upset sometimes. And so they were slotting it all back in. And they didn't slot it all back in. A lot of it's back, but not all of it's back. Most of it's back, but not all of it's back. There is still a change between the... So it's complicated, okay? So I hope you followed that. Basically, there's some stuff that should have always been there. That's the 7-page, and they've made, some stuff that always should have been there. There's some stuff that wasn't really meant to be in there all along, the guard stuff, but it is in there. It's a legacy thing. There's some stuff from all the characters that they could have just added to the character data sheet. And then there's a chunk of stuff that was specific to the black books, which should have always been there. And then there was a chunk of stuff that they took out, which they didn't mean to take out, which they put back in again. I hope we're all clear. Stranger Come Knocking, thank you for your $4.99. Calm down. What's happened now? I don't know. Well, yes. Most of the time, someone asks a question and it just comes out. It was the legacy, 200 pages of legacies. I believe it needed a full explanation. hopefully that clears everyone up. And Servo Skull, thank you for gifting a membership. I appreciate it. So thank you, Stranger Come Knocking. Thank you for Servo Skull for your gifts. GG's in the chat. This is a great community. I appreciate the support. I really do. Thank you, guys. Thanks for helping me out. Because someone needs help. It's yes. Don't we all need help from time to time? A nice glass of warm milk and a cookie normally sorts me out. Issues aside, I do like 3.0. Blood Buffalo, I agree. I like rolling dice. I like doing war games. Last time we did a live stream, Stranger Come Knocking. I'm going to go off on one again, okay? So strap in for this one, matey. Last week, I tried to do a bit, thanks Andy H, about my review of Heresy 3.0, because as Blood Buffalo says, I do like 3.0. I like 3.0. I preferred 2.0, but I like 3.0. Okay, you can prefer some other editions. And I tried to do a bit explaining 3.0. I failed. Then I made a video yesterday on my review of 3.0, and I put it on the thing and stuck it together, and it turns into a salty pile of piss very quickly. It turns into a very old man shouting at clouds very, very quickly. So I still need to do the 3.0 isn't that bad video. It's not. No, I can't say that though, because there's always people who start an edition who didn't take part in the previous edition. And then there's a bunch of old men yelling at cloud saying, it's not, back in my day, we used to walk 10 miles to pit and get paid in £0.5 of coal. You know, you always get that lot. And you're thinking, well, it's quite nice not walking to the pit and just playing these video games or playing this movie or playing this war game without listening to that old Pratt ramble on over there. I like this and care about what... And it needs to lock into that. But I need to do it without the bag of salt. I think, though, one of the things to lean into... I was thinking about it the other day. One of the ways to lean into the video about 3.0 without a bag of salt is maybe I make a video or talk to you guys about launches, Warhammer launches, because clearly there's a right way to do a launch and a wrong way to do a launch. There's successful launches and least successful launches, and Heresy 3.0 launch wasn't very successful. Could have been more successful. It could have been more successful. Andy H, that feels like a bit. Do a bit. I just did a bit. It felt like a bit. I did a bit. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate you. Legend. Yeah. I could do a bit more. But, you know, do you know what I mean? I mean, guys, you play 2 games. They have been fun, but I prefer second ed. Yeah, all for the bit. GG, Andy. Yeah, thank you, Andy. Look, so, no, do you think it was a successful launch? Do you think it could have been more successful? If you think it was successful, why? If you didn't think it was successful, why? If they dropped the ball, why? I think there's some things to talk about. I think Bordy and Gloria said it best. You don't need a new edition when the old one is still active. All the old editions are still active, yeah. You don't ever need a new edition. All the old editions are always still active. You can play the old one. You can play 8th edition 40k. You can play 2nd edition 40k. You can play 1st edition Heresy. You can play 2nd. You can play whatever edition in your gaming group you want to play. But slowly over time, the majority of the scene, active scene, will become the majority of that edition slowly over time. But I think, yeah, it was needlessly horrendous. No, not successful at all. It's like when people said Josh Allen would be bad. At first he was, but then he became our Lord and Saviour. Always a Buffalo reference. Did he get a 200-page PDF? Me? Did I? Josh Allen, edition was too soon. It put me off. Yeah. I think we all agree that the Heresy churn... One of the reasons why people went to Heresy is to get away from the church. There's many reasons why people might want to go to Heresy. Many. The main reason being story. But apart from that, what have the Romans ever done for us? One of the reasons would be to get away from the churn. So the churn needs to be less. 2, did it have issues? Of course, every edition had issues. Any plans on converting using the new Loyalists Space Marine characters for the 13th? Not at this time. I'm busy. No. There will be, though. I really like the look of the new Lysander. He's my fave because he's really chonky. Okay, guessing the Rhino Rush is a bad term in chat. Rhino Rush? Rhino Rush is good. We like Rhino. World Eaters do Rhino Rush very well, particularly in 40k, particularly in the new edition. The new rules are really good. The reveal show of all the models for the Fellblade and Assault Marines. Yeah, that reveal show was good. The reveal show they did was good, but I feel that was somewhat of a reaction to the community because there were a lot of leaks. So they kind of came ahead because that was a live stream, right? So like, oh, let's get ahead of that. And I think that might have been reactionary, but I could be wrong. But I enjoyed that reveal show. That was good. The problem was when they say, yep, it's just like the first one, the other edition, but reimagined. And yep, you can bring all your armies. The problem is when they say untruths. Plain, big, fat untruths to hundreds of thousands of loyal customers. Things can get a bit spicy then. Rue, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Love you, Rue. Thank you very much. GG's in the chat to Rue, please. Can we give a big hand on Rue's entrance? A nice warm hand on his entrance here. Swinging in with 5 great memberships. GG's. Nice warm hand, sir. You wouldn't want a cold one, would you? Viridian Shallows, always good, sir. Me and a few friends are about to go back and play a few games of 2nd Ed and 4th editions. Nice. 2nd Ed is rough to play. 4th Ed, one edition away from the best edition, in my opinion, of that iteration, which was 5th. Really liked 5th. Really liked 8th. 5th introduced the runner mechanic. I know Eldar had it. The fleet was the thing, but besides fleet, everyone got running in 5th. Currently watching at HMS Sultan Wargaming Club. All the lads here, 3.0 was rushed. 2.0 was just great. Yeah, all the lads here think 3.0 was rushed. Well, it looks like it's on a 3-year rotation. It looks like we're getting a 3-year rotation for Heresy now because it was 3 years between editions, and Games Workshop know that when they do a release, they make a lot of money. Typically when they do a new release, they make a lot of money. They dropped the Old World release, made a boat ton of money from a range that they had cancelled. They did Heresy 2.0 release and were amazed on the amount of money that they made and immediately started writing number 3. Like, oh, look at this, is making money. Yeah, someone upstairs. If upstairs in Games Workshop, they could re-release 40k Heresy Old World AOS every year, a new edition every year, if they could do that, they would do that. Money, bank. But there's a point at which you do something for short-term gain and you get long-term pain. You get those little short-term bumps, but in the long-term, depression, drug addiction, suicide, horror, hell, damnation. Yeah, it just gets worse. So don't do drugs, kids. Like I think they said, side minor tweaks. It's totally false. Yeah, it shifted from games feeling like a big war to We're gonna work on trying to yeah. Picked up 3rd Ed Codex, and you can make your own Tyranid Hive Fleet. Yeah, dude, you can make your Hive Fleet new. Bang out 3rd edition. Yeah. 10th Ed lore has been atrocious though. Warhammer 40k 10th Ed lore. Warhammer 40k 10th Ed lore has been... Here's a hot take. I know there's been a few videos going around. So, yeah, let's talk about this. Let's talk about it. There's been a few videos going around on the internet about 10th edition lore and the state of lore in Warhammer 40k right now. I've seen the things and in the chat. 10th Ed lore has been atrocious. Now, I'm not sure I entirely agree with those sentiments for a couple of reasons. One, the lore has always gone off in multiple directions all the time, everywhere, all at once. It's always done that, except at the start of 8th edition when they brought it back round and moved the clock from 1 minute to midnight, ripped the galaxy in half and gave us a new setting, brought everything back to a thing. So recently we had another start point, and I think now we're back to normal with stuff shoving out and exploding in lots of different directions all at once again. So I think we're in a normal, this is where we normally are, with 28 different story threads getting pulled out all the time. However, I think they are trying to address that. We have the Dawn of Fire series, which recently had its last book. And the Dawn of Fire series is some attempt from Games Workshop to use novelists. And I think this is the way to do it, rather than a person in a studio or the person writing a codex, but using proper creative people, proper writers, proper novelists, full-time people who know words, using the words to pull it all together into some kind of coherent thing, like The Beast Arises, like the Horus Heresy, like the Dawn of Fire series. They're trying to pull it together again and underline a few things. So both the explosion and the condensation, is that the right word for it? See, I don't use words, is happening at the same time. And with the Amazon thing happening, and Henry Cavill, our Lord and Savior, happening, and with the King in Yellow story arc coming, there is something on the horizon with Valrak shouting from over the horizon for months now. There's something coming. There's going to be some lines drawn. There's going to be a reveal. There's going to be a restart. And I think we just need to hang in there. I think it's not that bad, and I think there's going to be a tidying up and coming together somewhere, somehow, something. That's the limit of my knowledge right there. I know all the Primarchs are coming back. Good Primarchs, bad Primarchs, right, left, up, down, small Primarchs. They're all the Primarchs are coming back. I just wonder if the Emperor's going to wake up as well. The new Grey Knight lore, that changed to the Terminus degree from what the Terminus degree was to what the Terminus degree is. And that's a good example of what goes wrong when you let the people in the studios write the lore. What you should do is let the Dan Abnetts and the Aaron Densky-Bodens and let those guys get involved. Let them do the lore thing, and don't let the students. Don't answer questions. I didn't want the Terminus decree answered. I don't want the 2nd and 11th Primarchs answered. Actually, that's a lie. I'd like one of them answered. I'd still like a little bit of mystery. Leave one of the legions unanswered, but answer the other one. Yeah. Okay, it's all horrible. The Terminus decree thing was terrible. They shouldn't. Come on now. Grey Knights being told that it doesn't make any sense that the Emperor and Malcador's plan, i.e. the Emperor's plan, that their plan is Big E cannot leave the throne at all costs ever. You cannot leave, no matter what. And part of the reasons for forming the Grey Knights, one of the reasons for forming Chapter 666, one of the whole shebangs for existing in the first place is to make sure he doesn't get off that chair at the end, no matter what. So, Horus and all of his dudes couldn't beat the 10,000. How are the Grey Knights going to do it? It just doesn't make any sense. But apart from that, the lore's fine, I think. Maybe. What do we think, chap? Is that a usable clip? That might be a usable clip. Maybe. I sort of wondered at the end. Let's focus on the chat. I'm going to focus on you guys this evening. Let's focus. As Dandy said, we made the most powerful psychers to attack the only army in the books that are not affected by psychers. Yep. And they got the Silent Sisterhood helping them out. And also, I mean, what are they going to do? Teleport in there? It doesn't... It contradicts... It doesn't contradict. The Terminus Decree new law changes... It seems to me the person who wrote it didn't know what the original stuff said. And if they did know what the original Terminus Decree said, which was... could change the fate of the galaxy, Malkador's final decree, with the sigil that could fit. Either they didn't know what the original was, or they didn't care what the original was. Why they felt the need to answer it as well and make it... See, what I thought it would be, what I kind of hoped it would be, is the figure on the golden throne is a part of the Emperor, because he gave a bit of himself away during the End and the Death, right? And I was hoping that the Terminus Decree, because the other thing is, when the Great Rift happened, it's in the 8th edition rulebook, when the 8th Rift happened, Titan itself, the homeworld of the Grey Knights, rung like a dinner bell from something from the vaults, was trying to get out, something deep inside. And I was hoping the Terminus Decree behind the vaults in the thing, there was a bit of the Emperor. You know, it was like the Star Child Reborn type. They could have leaned into the Star Child Reborn. Not that I like the Star Child prophecy much. It's really old prophecy, but it could have been a bit of him, a shard of him, shard of Magnus, shard of something Emperor-ish. Yeah. Christian Kopang has been a member for 31 months. You absolute legend. Thank you for 31. I think for me the most important part of the game is the morale system, which Games Workshop has the best morale system in any edition. Which Games Workshop game has the best morale system in any edition? This is another thing. So they haven't really known what to do with morale in 40k since 8th edition, because the old leadership thing from 7th edition earlier works for blinding, pinning, things like that. But the best morale system has either got to be Heresy 3.0 or 40k to 40k 2nd edition, you know, with cool, leadership, willpower, intelligence, even Wolfbot. Because it's got more morale and cool, there's more interactions. There's more things that can occur. But is more better? Is more better? Because one of the reasons why they changed leadership, cool, willpower, everything, and got rid of it all and just made it leadership. One of the reasons why they did that is because most of the time the difference between cool and intelligence, willpower, it was one. And most of the time it didn't really make much of a difference. Most of the time for most things it was like 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. It didn't matter whether your cool was 8 and your leadership was 9 or your intelligence was 10 and your cool was... It didn't matter. So they consolidated it under one to think. The only time where it really starts to be interesting and you want those characters to come back out from the leadership call into is when you're thinking of like Admech. Admech could have a really high intelligence but quite a low cool, or the different a servitor. A servitor could have a really high cool, doesn't matter if people are dying around him, but his leadership is actually quite low. So is more better, because you can there's other rules that you could put. Yeah. I hate morale systems for super soldiers in general. The new version is better. One of the things they had in 7th edition 40k onwards is previously is, and they shall know no fear. So you used to get a reroll if you were a Space Marine. One of the reasons why they had, and they shall know no fear, they had stubborn, they had fearless, they had lots of rules that stopped you playing with leadership. They stopped it, capped it, reduced it. But then there's fear, panic, things like that, which also then further affect. I don't know what's the best edition for that. That's it. I don't know. 3 morale is needing 25% casualties from a single attack is so cool. Yeah, I mean Heresy 2.0, Heresy, all their editions of Heresy had that. 25% casualties, you take a morale. Liam T played his first game of 3, loved it. It's a good game. I like intelligence for warp shenanigans. Yes, intelligence is a good one for warp shenanigans, and tech priests have a leadership of high intelligence but low. I like 3.0. I just don't like the beginning and the bit at the end. The bit in the middle is brilliant. The bit in the middle with all the dice rolling and no re-rolls. And it's so refreshing to have breaching X, rending X, shred X. If that's 654, you know what it is immediately when you chuck the dice. When you play 40k, someone chucks a chunk of dice down. Well, I'm re-rolling half of them. And then I'm modifying that up or down. And then they roll a bunch of wounds, but you've got minuses to wounds, so that goes down again. 40k, you can read the game. When you roll the dice, you can read the game, but you got to know. You got to be switched on, okay? You've got to have both of your Red Bulls and 3 wagon wheels. But Heresy, you can read it straight away. Heresy 3.0 with breaching 5, rending 5. That number is the same number unaffected by modifiers, whatever the special condition is. There's no rerolls. You chuck the dice down. There's no artificer armor anymore. You just chuck 3 up saves. And then I rolled 3 1s and 2s. I pick up 3. The dice rolling part. We are in such a weird position when it comes to Games Workshop products that a war game without any re-rolls in it feels really refreshing. We're so used to modifiers. We're so used to re-rolls. We're so used to all the things all the time that a game which is just, you just roll the dice and that's what you get, feels like a revolution. That's how it started. I've rolled 3 1s. Okay. I've rolled 3 6s. Yeah, it's so readable, it feels intuitive to play. The other thing about it is when you are rolling less dice, and Heresy 3.0 has got less dice, each dice roll feels more impactful. It's funny, isn't it? It's funny. Now, which system is better than the other system? Don't know. I mean, at 40k you got like 29 factions and 1,000 stratagems. Every single data sheet has its own rules. They're completely different systems now. Yeah. Which ones? I don't know. Some people prefer one, some people prefer the other. I like playing with both. Why can't we have both? Lim T has been a member for 29 months. Blah, 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 blah. Legend, thank you. I really dislike re-rolls in most instances. Don't play 40k. The Grey Knights, their whole new thing is re-rolls 1 to hit, re-rolls 1 to wound. They've got just Grey Knights. What can we do to make them better? Let's give them re-rolls. In most instances, re-rolls were reduced only to have more than... Yes, that was another untruth. They say 10th edition is going to have less re-rolls. Oh dear. In life, I kind of... What? Rank everyone. Yeah, you don't... Not everything... Yeah, yes, Blood Buffalo, I agree. Ranking, you can just... Yes. Where are we? 3rd edition, yes. The rolls, just nice rolls. I think in 40k, what happens is some of the re-rolls creep in at the beginning. to make it powerful. Oh, I can re-roll that. It's suddenly powerful. And then before you know it, in 10th edition, they're re-rolling all the things all the time. The other thing, so in 40k, the other thing they started doing, you see, is they started putting up the toughness, didn't they? And the number of wounds, like Space Marines went to 2 wounds. And then Plague Marines went to toughness 5, 2 wounds. Toughness 5 and 2 wounds. And now this edition, Plague Marines at 6 wounds. And then you get things like Blight Lord Terminators. Now 3 wounds at toughness 7. And that creeps up and up and up. And you get that toughness creep and that wound creep. And then they counteract it with the damage creep. There didn't used to be a lot of damage 3 weapons in 40k. Now there's an awful lot of damage 3 weapons creeping in. And some damage 4 weapons creeping in. And that creeps up and up and up. Until eventually, where are we? My word bearers got their weapons back, and they're all awful. Word bearers, man, they went from one of the strongest legions in 2.0 to one of the worst. Further, I haven't had the chance to experience that much, but I get the feeling this edition makes it easier for Solar Auxilia and the Mechanicum to stand a chance against the legions. I've heard that Solar Auxilia and Mechanicum actually function quite well in this edition compared to... In 2.0, if you played Solar Auxilia and Mechanicum, you'd struggle to beat legionaries because they were Solar Auxilia and Mechanicum. And they are super soldiers, and Custodes were even harder to beat. And I liked that. I loved playing Mechanicum in 2.0, and 80% of the games I lost. And I loved it because I'm playing Heresy. And the number one thing I want from Heresy is story. I want it to feel like the books. And Admech are not as good as Space Marines. Otherwise, the Emperor would have just used the Admech and conquered the galaxy. He needed Space Marines. They were the tool. They were the Swiss Army knife. And the Night Lords were the corkscrew. No, they were the Emperor's children. The Night Lords were the big blade. The Emperor's children were the corkscrew. The Space Wolves were the bottle cap opener. The World Eaters were the saw blade. He needed a different blade in every Swiss Army knife part to take over the galaxy. Admech weren't going to cut it. Which part of the Swiss Army knife is your Primarch and why? Are cults and militia still a thing in 3.0? They will be, but not right now. No, Night Lords were the toenail clippers. Nice. And they made you sniff them. Clip the toenails. Sniff my transhuman toenails. No, I don't want to sniff your Space Marine. No, sniff the toe with Space Marine toenail jam underneath. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the amount of gunk that builds up in your Space Marine boot? You know, in that sweaty thing. I know it's probably like the still suits in Dune and it recycles it all and they're drinking their own piss. I know that's what's probably going on in there. But the toenail jam under the transhuman toenail, ooh, that's got to be quite pungent. Jagatai was the toothpick you take out to be cool with. Like Jagatai's the toothpick, yeah, the toothpick at the end of the Swiss Army thing. Always losing those toothpicks. Evening. Did you have fun I did. Sullivan Gilbert, I had a great fun playing against the German today. I didn't mention the war. He's a lovely guy. And he told me, flew all the way from Germany. He went to Tabletop Tactics, one of their mini 3-day tournaments. He went there. He saw Beanie. He's played a few people while he was in the UK. And he hit you up. And you and him played a game at Farstorm Games in Swindon. Down the road, down my manor. That's amazing. And I do like Only Michael. Michael's really nice. He's one of my favourite Germans. The list isn't that long. It is longer than my favourite English people, though. We were very tidy. Nice. Bang tidy, brother. Well, the Solar Auxilia seemed to be quite good. Yeah, I mean, the Solar Auxilia Mechanicum seem to be better now. The Solar Auxilia tanks were overcosted for what they did. All we had to do was bring the costs down by about 20% on the Solar Auxilia, and they would have competed against the Space Marines. And the AdMech... the AdMech, you see, their weapon skill, they're not as good as fighting Space Marines, so you need more gun. But the problem with Space Marines in Heresy is they had a lot of gun, so you can't really outshoot Space Marines. See, this is a problem. This is another rant. I was talking to the German earlier on about AdMech in 40k and where they went wrong, where Games Workshop went wrong with 40k. Now, it's a bold statement to say that they went wrong with Mechanicum in 40k, but I don't see any battle reports with Mechanicum. I don't see them well represented in all the metas and all the tournament stuff, and I have barely played them in this edition or the previous edition because they went wrong. And where they went wrong is the AdMech is the war crimes department of the Imperium. Yes, you thought the Imperium was grim and dark, but it can get worse. That's called the AdMech. Teenage boys, some of them dream about growing up and becoming a Dark Angel, putting on robes and slaughtering things, okay? Space Marine 2, cracked out video game. You can have a futuristic fantasy where you dream of being a Space Marine or an Inquisitor or even an Imperial Guardsman, gaunt ghosts on the things, shooting the things. You can do. No one wants to be Servitor number 117B Alpha. No one wants to be that guy. Or Tech Priest WD43. No one wants to be those fellas. They're grim and dark. It's awful. They're the war crimes department of the 40k universe. They should be all about the guns, the base. And they were when they first came out. The AdMech had some funky weaponry, and you could have knights in there as well. And they would blow away. They should have comparable shooting to the Guard. There should be detachments where you can throw that amount of lead downrange. And in the case of the AdMech, not lead, irradiated super slime downrange, which will burn through the core of a planet and probably blow it up. You've got the AdMech do that. The other thing that the AdMech should do is hoard like a mofo, like 150 models on the table. Units of 20 Rangers, units of 20 Skitarii. They should have the bodies and the guns and the war crimes and the really funky weaponry. So the neutron lasers did funky things. The radium carbines did funky things. But those curves, those extremes of the bell curve got trimmed away by the AdMech. So they don't do those things anymore. You can't bring units of 20 of them anymore. And they certainly don't do any really funky things with their weaponries. Their weaponry just became versions of the Imperial stuff. So they losing the horde ability, losing knights from a data sheet of knights should be in there from the main codex, and losing some of their funky weaponry stripped out a chunk of the identity from the AdMech. And then they turned it into this characters on crack. You need this guy attached to this to unlock this. But if this guy is attached to that, unlocking that, and there's this guy within 6 inches over there, then they can do this. You know the characters that do this and the thing, you know that thing that they've got. One of the reasons why I like playing Necron so much is because there's none of that. You can add the Technomancer to a thing, you know what it does. You add the Chronomancer to a thing, you know what it does. Space Marines are quite similar, actually. You add a Lieutenant to a thing, it does a thing. You add the thing to a thing, it does a thing. There's a few factions out there where you can add two things to things, or you add this thing to that thing and it does one thing, but this thing to that thing and it does another thing. There's a few where it gets a bit complicated, and in AdMech it gets really, really complicated. It's quite like if a Dune Stalker is within 6 inches of any Necron Tech Priest, no, not Necron, Mechanicum Tech Priest, then something happens. But the tech priest doesn't have to be attached. Yeah. Well, here we are with AdMech in 10th edition. And I just want guns and weird guns. Horrifying weaponry. I want a horde. That's what it does in the books. And that's what it does in 30k. You can bring a lot of Ad Secularis Covenant if you want to. You can bring a ton of Thalax if you want to. But the guns that they have, dark fire cannons, lightning guns, phased plasma fusils, they have access to weaponry that Space Marines or Imperial Dakar don't get. The really good stuff they keep for themselves. I've got a gun that shoots antimatter bullets. Do you want it? Yes, please. You can't have it. You can't have it. I'm keeping it, and I'm putting it on that robot. But that robot doesn't even have a brain. No, I have the brain. I'm plugged into the robot right now, and I see through the robot. Where the robot sees and points and things, I see and point. But you're talking to me. Yeah, that's with this part of my brain. I'm talking and communicate with this. We are interfacing over here using a tiny portion of my brain. The rest of my brain is plugged in there. And also to my forge. I am my living, breathing forge. I know what's going through the furnace of my belly. I know what my output is, my input is. I know they can... There's a bit in The End and the Death where the Fabricator General of Mars is Mars. Calbor Hal is like... Dan Abnett just... He's Mars. He's a. What's the way to put it? Mars is. Through him, a planet is conscious, awake, singular, living, breathing entity. It's glorious. Anyway, AdMech. Should the AdMech have fully automatic vortex grenade launchers? Yes, please. I'll have 5. Winters, did you get a chance to go through the Horus Heresy 3 rules for mech? Look, I put it up here, okay? After the second... I put it up there on the post-it note of doom after last week's live stream. Go away and do Mechanicum homework for Heresy 3.0. I put it up there. Hi, Tombs. And I've put it back up there. Tomb 71. Hi. I put it back up there. I put it up there and I put it back up there. Yeah. Really appreciated Call being oblivious. That Felix might not have enjoyed being taught to experiment. Yeah. But have you opened the mech book? Look, I've got it on the notepad. Mechanicum homework. I wrote that down last week. And I've put it up there. Some homework. It's up there, okay? It's there. So if you're asking me where it is, that's where it is. Make it the mech. There's no expiration date on Mechanicum homework. Did I say this week? Last week someone suggested to check Dark Angels in 3rd. Yeah, so I did check out the Dark Angels. So the Dark Angels leadership can never go less than 7, and they can never suffer more than 1 to their leadership modifiers through panic, fear, things like that. Doesn't sound great. However, their 2 named units, the Terminator guys, are pretty juicy. Though they don't have Vanguard. And then the other unit, the Carbonite, the guys with the Carbonite Greatswords, they're pretty juicy. They do have Vanguard. The thing about the Dark Angels, which makes them a bit of a sleeper, is that their wings, you know. There's lots of different ways you can build Dark Angels, because they have access to some interesting auxiliary detachments. However, this right of war thing where you unlock this thing and you get this weird auxiliary. You know how auxiliary detachments work. For every commander, you unlock an auxiliary detachment. If the commander's got officer of the fleet 2, then you can unlock 2 auxiliary detachments. So essentially, you can bring more stuff if you bring more commanders. That's how Heresy 3.0 works. You bring 1 commander, 1 Praetor, you're not going to unlock very much. You bring 3 or 4, you're going to unlock loads. And the Dark Angels can unlock lots of interesting ones for different builds. However, I think that's a bit of a white rabbit. I think that's down the hole. Because everyone can bring pretty much anything just by bringing Centurions along, because they have officer of the fleet too. You bring 3 Centurions along, that unlocks 6 slots. One of them's a prime, 7 slots. And then, you can bring 3 Centurions with a prime, 7 slots. And in each slot, so 7 slots, for example, could be 14 tanks. It's a lot. So the Dark Angels I think Dark Angels and all the legions unlock the same sort of stuff. Just the Dark Angels pay less commanders to do it. So it looks strong on the surface. It looks like, they can do some more stuff. They can't. They just do the same stuff, but for less commander tax. You used to have a troop tax. Now you have a commander tax. How many commanders do I need to bring the thing? You know? So officers of the line. Thank you. I had a dream about Winters last night, and here he is. Bad Taste Bear, I had a dream about you too. Bad Taste Bear. I found you in Yosemite, Mr. Bear. I had a double-barreled shotgun and some night vision glasses, and I don't know where else. And I shot you, and now you're here. I don't know where I was going with that. I like it. It's like bolt actions, platoon leader, platoon list making. I don't like it because essentially the mechanic is you bring more commanders along, you can unlock more stuff, right? That's the mechanic. You've seen the chart. And there's 7 pages. Thank you, bad taste. 7 pages explaining that mechanic with that chart. They could have used the old chart from the old edition with 1 and the old one has up to 3 HQs, and then the troops, the elites, the faster. And what they could have done is, instead of 3 HQs, they could have said, hey, for every HQ you add, you can add another heavy or elite or fast or They could have added a paragraph. Not even that. They could have added 2 sentences to the old force organization chart. 2 sentences. Let's say a paragraph. Let's be generous here. They add a small paragraph to the old force organization chart, and they get the same result, which is more commanders, more slots. Because that's what the new force org chart is. It is the most complex, simple force org chart in the world ever. It's the most complex thing in the world. 7 pages of explanation. Really simple. It's also, you're allowed to bring more than you've ever did before. You can bring more dreadnoughts, more tanks, more stuff than you could ever do. So not only is it really complex and really simple, you can bring more, but you can also bring less, because while you can bring more of everything, you can't bring a full drop pod assault. You can't bring a full biker white scars bike list. You can't bring Day of Revelations Blood Angels list. You can't bring full Immortals list. You can't bring Decapitation Strike Raven Guard things, because the way all rights of wars have changed. So there's more than you could ever do before and less than you can ever do before. It's more complicated than it's ever been before, but it's more simple than it's ever been before. The Force Org slot and how you organize your army for Heresy 3.0 is, in my humble opinion, a perfect example of the best and worst of Games Workshop rules writing. It's got some of the best ideas and simplest ideas, and some of the worst executions and worst ideas at the same time, sometimes on the same paragraph. It's crazy. There's a whole video I could do on it. See, I told you at the start, I've been trying to do a review video. I've got the clips on the phone and everything. I've been trying to do a review video of Heresy 3.0. You've got me going again, chat. You've got me going again. Look, here's all the chat. Here's all of me. This is me. Middle of all of this, you have the terrain rules, which quite frankly... oh dear. Look, they cut and pasted the whole of the... That's me trying to do a video on my review of Heresy 3.0 and getting sidebacked by terrain and then a 5-minute rant about terrain. I can't do a review of Heresy 3.0 without turning into old man yelling at clouds because I like the game. The bit at the beginning with the Rights of War and the Force Org isn't very good. And it is really good at the same time. And then the bit at the end with the missions, that's a whole other conversation. The bit in the middle, the actual dice rolling, mwah, beautiful. It's such a hard video to do without yelling at the cloud. And also, I think that if I stay quiet for long enough as a main video, other people will cover it, so I don't need to make it. And also, if I rant long enough on these live streams, you'll get the picture anyway. I like Heresy 3.0. As a game, it works. I prefer 2.0, but as a game, it works. There's just some really curious decisions. Winters, what have you been working on? Well, not washing. Word bearers. We talked about it last week. Word bearers for Alex. I don't love Erebus. I hate Lorgar. I'm trying to get his word bearer sorted so we can get him on the channel for you guys. Jackus Woods has dropped £50 from the top rope with a steel chair. Bang! Can we get a massive GG's in the chat for Jackus Woods? Over the top. Massive donation. Thank you, Mr. Frenchman, sir. Keep up the good work, Winters. What videos will we see this week? Well, Jackus Woods, tomorrow, Tech Bro Frank came all the way over from another country. Hung out in London for a while. And then met up with Sultan and fought me. That's tomorrow. 3,000 points of Imperium versus Tyranids tomorrow. 2 versus 1. Awesome game. Really loved it. Wave attacks of Tyranids. Send in the next wave. Send in the next wave. Narrative thing. That was so much fun. I really enjoyed breaking out the Tyranids again. And it was narrative. I had a great time. So I thought I wanted to do another one. So against only Mike the German, I broke out Tyranids again. I did narrative again, and this wasn't waves. It was a fixed. It was the thing of pass, mounting pass, Blood Angels versus Tyranids. Can Dante hold the pass? That one's coming out on Sunday. So yeah, had a lot of fun with Tyranids on the Wednesday. So I'll break out the Tyranids again on the Sunday. There's something so... See, this is the reason why I love 40k as well. It's because you can't get Tyranids in Heresy. And there's something really nice about throwing bugs at power armored super soldiers. It's a bug planet. It's an ugly planet. A bit of my Halo comes out every time where I throw, who's Roughnecks? Rico's Roughnecks. That side of it. It's nice. Battling big monsters. When I'm playing Tyranids, sometimes I root for the other fella because got to take him down. But sometimes I'm really trying to eat with the precision, with the Harrow specs, a bit of Sanguinor, crunchy cream. You know what I mean? So Tyranids on Wednesday and Tyranids on Sunday. I'm actually got quite a few games in. I'm playing Sultan tomorrow, not filming. He's just coming around. He's got some new Space Wars together and he wants to play them for the first time. So me and Sultan are playing. Love this hobby. Playing even without filming. Love it. And then on Friday, it's Triple D. Saturday, I'm doing a 4-way. I think I'm on the bottom, so it might be a bit smelly down there. And that's with Brap and Monkey and Sultan, which means Saturday night is going to get a little bit messy. Oh dear, that is going to get really messy. But I love it. And then on the Sunday, I'm playing Tom from Rift Forge Studios. Check out Rift Forge Studios on YouTube. Heresy channel, lovely fella. And he's bringing Dark Angels and the Lion. And I don't know what to throw against Dark Angels and the Lion, but my brain is going to Angron on World Eaters and borrowing Alex SEO's World Eaters. Because the Lion and the Dark Angels, all noble and knights and oaths and vows, and that sounds very Black Templars, but you know what I mean, all monasteries and secrets, and they're all very ordered, Knights of the Order, they're all very sensible. And then you've got World Eaters, which are kind of polar opposites, which are just, they're quite reserved. What I'm saying is Dark Angels, you wouldn't want to go drinking with them, would you? They're probably going to just have a neat whiskey. I mean, what do Dark Angels drink? A neat whiskey? Champagne? No, not champagne. They would have a rum. A still rum. And that's it. And just sip it for about half hour. Whereas a World Eater, there'd be the WKDs, you know. They'd be knocking them back. Tenants Extra, knocking them back. Triple Vodka and Red Bull coming at you. You'd enjoy a night out with a World Eater. It's going to get a bit messy, but you'd enjoy the night out. Bloody Mary, surely. Liam T. Nice. 40k or Heresy, says Dan's Den. Can we both? Why can't we have both? Both. Space Wolves are your real drinking buddies. I know, right? But they'll just, But it get a bit smelly. You know, like when you go into someone's house who has a dog, and you're like, even if it's a clean house, and even if it's a clean dog, when you walk into a house that has dog, you're like, dog. You know dog. And I'm not saying that's a bad smell. Some people like the smell, some people don't like the smell. If you go into an unclean house with lots of dog, bad smell. But generally speaking, dog. It'll put, you know, you go drinking with a Space Wolf, you'd be like, particularly if it rains, you know, you'd be, put me off my beer, that smell. Well, the World Eaters wouldn't last long in a tavern because the barroom brawl will break it. I know, but a barroom brawl with a World Eater, he'll be my chain brother. I'll be chained to that brother. We will wreck face. I say we as a team. He'll do most of the wrecking. I'll be there for morale purposes. But boy, that might be a fight that I could actually win. I'm having a difficult time deciding what to get for my Iron Warriors. Guns. Iron Warriors like guns. Get all of the guns all the time. As much shooting as you possibly can. Guns. Tanks, get tanks. Siege breakers, get siege breakers, add tanks. Lance cannons, disintegrators, guns. Iron Warriors, guns. Next question. Yeah. 2.0 was expensive, full commitment, theme list or regular 3.0 allows me normal list. I just wanted a moment. I just want more bikes, not all bikes. Yeah. Thousand Suns, you'd get a fine vintage wine if you went drinking with them, provided you could sit through the explanation of it. Yeah. I mean, I'd like a vintage wine, but there's a Dylan Moran sketch where he says there's 3 types of wine. I'm going to steal this from him. Sorry, Dylan, you're not watching this, but it's a great sketch. Where there's 3 types of wine. This is one type of wine. Where you go, oh yes, that's nice. I'll have 3 of them, please. Thank you. This is the second type of wine. That's disgusting. Get that away from me, you foul beast. That's the second type of wine. Here's the third type of wine. Oh, yeah. Oh. No. Actually, that one's quite nice. I'll have 3 of those, please. That's the only wine descriptions that we need, I think. Everything else, the salted peppercorns and everything else is just window dressing, isn't it? Ah, dear. Wet dog smell is horrible. I read that one out already. Wet cat, though. Wet pussy. Smells delicious. Wouldn't know. Never. You've never had wine. Dylan Moran reference. Very nice. Yeah, man. I saw him at a comedy thing at Wyvern Theatre in Swindon. He was hilarious. Best live comedian I've seen, Dylan Moran. And I've seen a few. What else? Have we covered everything? So, yeah, we talked about what's coming out. There's some Tyranid videos coming. I have been painting. Is that against what? I don't know. No, doing bits that other people did bits. That's fine. You're allowed to repeat things that people said. If I cut the clip out and showed you a clip, all it was without referencing it whatsoever, like a reaction video, but without any reactions at all, that might be slightly copyright. What you really want is squirrels. I'm convinced no one likes whiskey. Dude, Blood Buffalo, I'm down with you now. I don't understand these whiskey people. And then I met Sultan, and Sultan likes whiskey, and he will talk about different whiskies. And I've tried, because I've been drinking with Sultan a few times, and I've put a cheap, crappy whiskey in front of him, like, I don't know, what's that horrible American one? Jack Daniels, that pretend one. That one, I put that one in front of him. And then like a Glenmorangie, and he'll know. Apparently whiskey people know the difference between whiskies. Mind you, I'm from the West Country. I can tell you the difference between a good and bad cider. Like Strongbow isn't a good cider, but Hennessy's is lovely. And Wilkinson's Farmhouse cider, with the apple bit still floating around in there. Damn. And when you pee the next day, it smells like apples. What's your position on strawberry and white chocolate cheesecake? The bobbins. Couple of problems with your whole thing here. One, white chocolate isn't chocolate. We don't put those words together in this stream. Okay, white and chocolate do not. That's not, one of the banned words, along with, a few of the other bad words. And then strawberry and cheesecake. Cheese does not belong on cake either. Okay, cheese belongs on many places, but not on cake. So, and then strawberries, fruit with cake. There's a whole. The bobbins. Basically, your question doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. I think it's low Gothic, and we're only speaking high Gothic here. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Ah, dear. What do you think of the legacy document release stuff for 3.0? Asks Wrath of Constantine. Anything not in there that you think they missed? It's 200 pages. They missed plenty of stuff. Yes, there's thing in there that they missed. I did a rant at it back at the start. We'll not go back to that dark place. We're on to food now, Wrath of Constantine. We're on to food. My second favourite subject. The Bobbins is taking a stroll down Winter's Rage Bait stream. I know, don't get me started on cheesecake is not a cake, and white chocolate isn't chocolate. Chocolate needs to have chocolate in it, and chocolate's brown. You ask a 3-year-old and you put some colours down, like we put some colours down in front of a 3-year-old, and we said, 3-year-old, point to the chocolate coloured one. And they will point to the chocolate coloured one. Not that one. That one. They will point to that one. If you put this down in front of a child and said, 3-year-old, point to the chocolate coloured one. They don't point to that. No, that one. It's backwards on the screen. They don't point to. They point to the brown one. Brown one. And cheese and cake is like toe jam and Space Marines. It's bad. White chocolate cheesecake is superior to all other cheesecake. Crusader, to the back of the class. You've done it again. Back of the class. Okay? Don't poke any of the other kids as you pick up your books and your little pencil case and you move back down the aisle. Don't poke or prod any of the other kids. Just go to the back of the class, okay? You might be called forward later. Okay, I'm going. Good. Why do you hate the Milky Bar kid? The Milky Bar kid is a thief. He's got loads of Milky Bars. He's got thousands of Milky Bars. Where did he get them from? He's a kid. He hasn't got a job. Thief. Should be in prison. Chocolate doesn't have chocolate in it. It has cocoa, which makes chocolate. Definitely not a gator. It's talking sense. Back of the class. Back of the class. If we wanted sense, the only person who's allowed to talk sense here is occasionally me. And when I do, you let me know. Right now, this probably isn't it. My little cheesecake themed pencil case. Oh dear. If you had to be in the middle of a human centipede, no. Actually, I'm going to answer that question. So, Dan, if you had to be in the middle of a human centipede, who would you want in front of you and behind you? So I'm in the middle of a human centipede. Behind me, I think behind me, we're going with my ex-girlfriend when I was 17. She could definitely, one of the most evil people I've ever met. Mind you, I was an evil little shit when I was 17 as well. I was awful. So it's probably my fault that she was that bad. Okay, that's on me. So behind me, we'll put Hitler or something like that. In front of me, whose shit am I eating? Ah, dear. If I really, really had to eat some crap. So I'm putting some serious thought into this. Some serious thought. I'm going with 1989 to 1992 Carmen Electra Baywatch. That era. Late 80s, early 90s. Mrs. Winter, said Stephen Yates. That's probably the correct answer. Yeah. I eat her shit all the time. Cool Kids at the back, so everything Winter sends their secret. Yeah. Are we talking... Cool Kids are at the back of the class already. Are we talking vanilla paste or asparagus? I don't know what we're talking about. Extremely morbid very quickly. I know. Someone asked, and I wanted to answer. I mean, if you were in the middle of the human centipede... Who? You got to pick, you know. I didn't watch that movie. Who watched that movie? Everyone knew about that movie, but no one watched that movie, right? I hope you didn't watch that movie. I mean, there's some movies that you can stay away from. People will say, hey, this is a big pile of donkey poo. Don't go and watch it. Like, apparently they remade War of the Worlds with Ice Cube in it. And it's on my feeds. Like, this is like probably the worst movie in the last 10 years. It's all filmed on a phone, and it was filmed during COVID, and they've been sitting on it for 4 years to get the special effects right, and it's still terrible. War of the Worlds. It needed a remake, apparently. So yeah, we're not watching that, and we're definitely not watching The Thing. I believe more people know the South Park reference. Yes, probably, about the human thing. Yeah. So we've got Mechanicum Homework up there. We've got Tyranids coming. Someone who has the book and yeah. We'll move away from this conversation. We lost about 20 people during the human centipede conversation. I'm surprised we didn't lose more. The Tom Cruise movie. What Tom Cruise movie? I said the War of the Worlds movie. There's a War of the Worlds movie with Ice Cube, and apparently it's terrible. The Tom Cruise movie. Which one? There was a Mission Impossible recently. I didn't see it. Last time I went to the cinema was June 2, and it was a cinema in Swindon, and it was horrible. It's put me off going to the cinema, and I used to love going to the cinema. Tom Cruise was in the War of the Worlds. No, not that one. There's been a new one, like it's literally out like now. The Tom Cruise War of the Worlds, that's directed by Steven Spielberg, and that one's really good. The first act is amazing. Second act's okay. Third act falls off a bit, but the first bit is crazy good. It's sci-fi. We like sci-fi. It's got aliens in it with laser beams. When the laser beams hit the people and there's just clothes and powder, like it atomizes them. Oh, that's a nice laser beam gun, isn't it? Isn't it? Disintegrator. You know, disintegrator guns. We like guns. Yeah, there's a new War of the Worlds movie. It's a big pile of poo. Don't watch it. It's horrible. I'm just repeating what I've heard. Now that is a disintegrator, yeah, or like a Gauss gun, because Gauss strips it down to the molecular level as well. That's why it used to, when it always came out, 6 is a hit to the glancing hit automatically, boom. For an army that had no anti-tank, apart from the monolith, the Necrons were surprisingly good anti-tank. There is a new film, 3.3 out of 10. Avoiding that. Thanks for checking out Eternal Crusade. See, it's 3 out of 10. Dan Murrell is again YouTube. Check him out, and he's Dan Murrell. He did a review. It's hilarious. Tore it apart. Where are we? So yes, good. I thought are we all caught up? Chat. Are we all caught up? You know what's coming. We know what's coming. There's some Tyranids coming. I'm playing Sultan. I've got some more, and then I've got a 4-way, and then I'm playing Tom from Riftforge. Yeah, glancing Land Raiders to death with Necrons back in 7th was genius. They had a crazy amount of anti-tank. You just stripped it all down. Am I going to watch the new Alien series? I will give the first one of the new Alien series a punt. But I am very... I've said it before on the thing. Like, it's okay to not watch, like Dexter, stop at season 3. It's okay to stop at Game of Thrones season 5. It's okay to prefer some movies and not others. Like I prefer Aliens to Alien. I prefer, this controversial one, Blade Runner 2047 to the original Blade Runner. Sue me, I know it's horrible, but I do. So it's okay to prefer some stuff after or stuff before. It's okay. And it's okay to skip stuff. And just because it's got aliens in it, I might skip it. Because it might be a big pile of monkey poo. But I'll give it a punt. I'll give it a punt. Movies these days have lost all originality, yeah. There's still some good ones. Like Dune 1 and 2, solid bit of sci-fi there. Weird bit of editing, first part of part 2, but solid sci-fi, great. Love Villeneuve, love what he did. Great. John Wick series was pretty good. Yeah, there's been a couple of good movies, but most of them are a big pile of monkey pants. There's a lot of remakes and redos and re-things these days. It's funny how it'll come around again. There was spaghetti westerns and all that exploded in the 50s and 60s because Hollywood went through a golden period with the black and whites and then the new colours, here's Looking at You, Kid, and Gone with the Wind, and Wizard of Oz, and these multi-global phenomenons. And then they fell off a cliff. And then you had the European stuff picking up, and spaghetti westerns, and da-da-da. And then, because of the resurgence globally, Hollywood came back again, hard, end of 70s, and then 80s. 80s action movies, 90s, 80s and 90s came back hard. And then Hollywood's fallen off again. Things go round in circles. We'll get back again. They'll stop eating their own tail and start making original content at some point. We need more original content rather than rehashed, recycled content from previous generations. There's some original stuff, or when they do adaptations, to do faithful adaptations, like Lord of the Rings was a faithful adaptation, and Dune is a fairly faithful adaptation, fairly faithful. When they do Space Marine, when they do 40k, I'm sure, with our Lord and Saviour Henry Cavill involved, it'll be a fairly faithful adaptation. It took them a whole year to negotiate the legal side, the IP side of that thing, and we know how precious Games Workshop are when it comes to their IP. They will see the pants off anyone. So I'm sure they've got that IP locked in. Hopefully, maybe. Damn it, it's Games Workshop. Anything can happen. God Emperor of Dune was less of a hypocrite than the God Emperor of Man. Yeah, I mean, I tried to do June again, and I struggled about book 4. I fell off again. It gets really crazy June towards the end. I've read it all the way through like once, ages ago. At the end of June 5, 6, book 5. It's been a long time since I read it. Isn't Frank Herbert and his wife in it? They're in it, in a garden, talking to God. He's like, there's a self-insert. June becomes very strange by the end. Oh dear. I'm not a fan of how condensed the time loss was for the June movies. I know, right? It's like Lord of the Rings, one of the greatest movie adaptations of all time. They condensed the crap out of that as well. Like Gandalf leaving Frodo to go and research the One Ring. That period of time, lore people will catch me on this. It's either 7 years or 30 years. Gandalf was gone for years. The main thing is he's gone for years before Saruman, and then he goes to see Saruman and goes, hey, I think I found the ring, and Saruman sticks him in the tower, and Saruman alerts Sauron, ring riders, and then Frodo's. There's a big there's years, and that's condensed in Lord of the Rings. And yeah, there's a massive condensing in June too. You need to do this in movies, right? When you don't judge a book by its movie. Don't judge a book by its movie. There's condensing going on. 20 to 30 years. Yeah, the law people got me. I knew it was either 7 or 20 or 30. It was a long period of time. They're making a new Lord of the Rings. Of course they are making a new Lord of the Rings movie. Wait for the Star Wars reboot. Reboot. Look at The Hobbit. No, well, yeah, so The Hobbit wasn't a faithful adaptation of the books. They added a lot of things in. And also, Peter Jackson came in halfway through. Guillermo del Toro started off producing and directing that and got creative distance left. Peter Jackson came in, picked up what he could, and the studio wanted a trilogy. That's a very good example of studio interference hurting an intellectual property, which happens all the time, right? All the time. The studio execs think they can tell stories better than people who are paid to tell stories. Stuart Fields, greeting from Middle Earth. See, look, Stuart is here, all the way from Middle Earth. Paul and Channy have a kid. The kid dies when the bit in June. Yeah, that kid. His first child dies. First child in June. He died, and then he goes absolutely ballistic. Yes, that happens. It'll be interesting to see what they do, because in the June Messiah, which is the second book, there's a massive. The jihad happens. So at the end of June 2, they've got Arachnis. They've got June. And then jihad across the galaxy. Great crusade. Next book starts and it's all done. It's all finished. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. Whether he starts like, okay, all that story you wanted to see they were building up at the end of the movie. Right, here we go. We're going. And then all of a sudden, dung. I wonder if they cut to the end, like he does in the books. Also, doesn't the little kill the Baron? No, he kills the Baron. He's the one that he definitely gets his vengeance in this life or the next. Yeah. June gets super weird. It gets really weird when you get the God Emperor, Paul Atreides' son, with the worm thing. It gets really weird. Like I said, Frank Herbert is in June himself. I think it's the last book he writes himself, or it's the second to last book. He's in a garden with his wife talking philosophy about, because June, there was a couple of things that he wanted to cover in June. 2 main themes in June, and one is like free will and determinism, that philosophical thing. And then the other main thing that, and particularly when you have prescience and know the future. And then the other main theme, so that's at one level, the underneath level, and then the above level is the notion that hero figures, saviors, are warnings. Paul is not a hero. Paul isn't even an anti-hero. Paul is a very, very bad person. The idea being that the Empire, I mean, everyone's bad. Look at everyone's bad. Everyone's bad all the time. Shock horror. But the galaxy was in some kind of stability and had been for 3,000 years. And then Paul Atreides turns up and billions and billions and billions of people die. So it's Dune Messiah was part written. There's a whole foreword that he did in, I'm not sure it's in my copy of the book there, but there's a whole foreword that he did in, I think it's the second edition of the books, where he said, Frank Herbert said he wrote Dune Messiah as a reaction to the original Dune book, because everyone's going like, yeah, Paul's a hero and he saved and he's a freedom fighter, and he's like, no, that wasn't the point. The point was one person's freedom fighter is another person's terrorist. One person's savior is a galaxy's. Yeah. This is why I don't do in-depth YouTube videos on this sort of content, because there's some great videos out there on Dune and the deeper leaning of Dunes, and people who know Dune like I know 40K, and have read all the forewords and seen all the interviews with Frank Herbert and what he wanted to achieve and how he wanted to achieve it. There's some great Dune videos out there. Anyway, if you're interested, watch some. Don't listen to this old fart. I barely know what I'm talking about. Anyway, Paul is supposed to be a warning to the galaxy, as much as, and a warning about hero for people who promise you things. You know, the person who promises you, hey, just do this and follow me and everything will be okay. Yeah, that nearly always works out well, doesn't it? Unless that person is the emperor of mankind, and then we should definitely follow him, because he is the emperor of mankind. And he's lovely, okay, and he needs hugs. Look at him. He's trapped on his pain throne for 10,000 years, and he's doing it for us. He needs big hugs and big thanks, nice pat on the head. Thank you for saving the species from extinction. Because if he did do one thing, he did that. This is an Al-Gib. Totally not a worm. Paul is a less flashy Horus Lupercal. Yeah. And 40K, Warhammer, completely original series, remember. They'll sue the crap out of anyone. They sued someone for using the term Space Marine. They'll sue anyone for anything. And Navigators come from Dune, and the God Emperor of Mankind comes from Dune, and Abominable Intelligence comes from Dune, and the war against it. Yeah. It's nothing is original under the sun, is it? Everything's rehashed, reused, refreshed, and repackaged and repainted. Maybe that's why where we are in Hollywood right now. Everything is repackaged and repainted. Original thought and original ideas are hard to come by. We're getting deep. I need to shut that. And white chocolate ice cream comes from Dune. Thank you. 8-point start. Thank you. GW is just mad that they couldn't name their orcs Uruk-hai. I can imagine the big Hollywood studios trying so hard to make sure they keep Paul. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm very interested to see what they do with Dune Messiah. Whether Paul Arrakis is a good guy. What the studio interference should be. Well, no, you see, because in Dune Messiah as well, he kind of has... he has a crisis of faith and leaves his jihad behind, and his sister and his mother take control over it, and his second wife. There's a whole thing going on. And the jihad happily rumbles on without him. And he becomes this wandering blind man beggar thing because he becomes nuked. He looks at a nuclear explosion, which he stares into on purpose to blow his own eyes out on purpose, because he's so prescient and he can see everything everywhere all at once. Great movie, by the way. Fantastic movie. So he doesn't need to see in order to navigate the world. And seeing was confusing him. because he knows you're going to bump into. So he blows his own eyes out nuclear, and he says, like, no, I was, and he actually becomes the narrator, the voice of Frank Herbert, telling everyone the hero figure, the Messiah figure is bad. And you don't know he's Paul until the end, and then you find out he's Paul, but you do know he's Paul because it's pretty obvious it's Paul. How much they put that in? Have I spoiled the third movie? How much they put that into the movie or not? I don't know. Anyway, there's some great YouTube videos on Dune out there. Go and check them out. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to this old fart. I'm sure there was an easier way to blind yourself other than staring at... I know, right? Well, there was a bit of revolution going on. There was a revolution against his revolution. That was the thing. And they were trying to blow up the remaining nuclear stockpiles because they didn't want the Fremen to have them any... It's a whole thing. Also, the second book starts to devolve into prose. You know, like the Silmarillion. We've all read the Silmarillion here. Everyone on the 13th Fleet, everyone in the chat has read the Silmarillion. We all know that J.R.R. Tolkien, much as we love him, the Silmarillion isn't meant to be read as a book. He wrote that over 30 years. He wrote that over many, many decades as prose. And then, yeah. And Dune becomes like that. It becomes a bit more like homework rather than fun. And then he gets mad at the end. Oh, dear. Much recommend instead anything by David Gemmell, fantasy. That's much nicer. Read that instead. Yeah, the Dragonlance Chronicles. Do you remember them? They were good. Read that instead. Read the Horus Heresy. If you haven't started the Heresy, start the Heresy. You're a Warhammer fan. If it takes you 10 years, what else are you going to do? What will happen is if you start the Heresy, you're going to run out in the end. And you're going to be sad when you get to the end. If you were a football fan and you started football now, it'll never end. All your life, it will never end. And if you're a Buffalo fan, you're never going to win the Super Bowl. It's never going to end. You're always going to be chasing it. You're always going to want that Super Bowl ring. But you're never going to get there. Josh Allen is going to quit before you ever raise the trophy. But Heresy, you can start and get to the end. Is he still in there? I don't think he's in here. So he's going to miss that. Don't tell him next week when he turns up. Blood Buffalo. I rinsed Josh Allen there. He'll get a bit upset with me. We'll keep that one between us. Right, I've finished everything. We've finished. I think we've finished. 4 times low. Where are we? Fun fact, the end of the death, there's a direct reference to Dune when the Emperor says about the warp being evident, mankind has lost the golden part. Yeah. There's references, the end of the death is so good. All the references in there. Dross and Waylander from Gemmell is my favourite jam. Raging Horn, thank you for your donation. Dude. Storm Rider's really good as well. You read those ones? They're really good. But yeah, Dross, man. The legend, great. Waylander, great. Love it. David Gemmell, great. Proof that you don't need to write 17 books all linked all together to create good fiction. Just a standalone book. I'm making my way through Raymond E. Weiss right now, of all things. He's another fantasy author. 10 out of 10, would bang. Right, White Chocolate, D. Bagus Maximus. He just throws a grenade in there, doesn't he? He just has to throw that grenade in there. Triggers me. Good talk, everyone. And wait, yeah, bye, Eternal Crusader. Happy birthday to you. I can imagine what the birthday cake is made out of. It's probably horrible. Raging Horn has gifted a membership. Thank you very much, Raging Horn. I appreciate you. Can we get some GGs in the chat for a bit of Raging Horde? I read a bit of Earthsea recently. The Earthsea trilogy. Dude, they made a movie on the Earth. Don't ever watch it. I watched it. It's horrible. It's like teenage cringe. It's like a 1990s teenage. Imagine the Earthsea trilogy, but written and adapted like Twilight. It's that bad. But yeah, the Earthsea trilogy, man. Fantastic stuff. Yeah. I did that when I was in school. That was a long time ago. We should do a book club thing next week or something. We should talk about good books. Because there's a number of... There's some news. We should share news with people who aren't aware of some of the great books, like Earthsea, like David Gemmell. I recommended David Gemmell to Monkey because he was going away on holiday, and I'm like, yeah, you need to smash these. And he did, and he liked them so much that he told his dad, and then Monkey's dad read them all. And then the next time I met Monkey was a couple of months later, and he's like, have you got any more Gemmell? I'm like, what do you mean any more Gemmell? I told you the thing. He said, yeah, but I've read this and did this and did this. I said, like, you hoovered up all the Gemmell. You and your dad, you hoovered them all up. There is no more Gemmell. You did them all in like 2-3 months. You legend. Ah, dear. Well, might I recommend 100 Recipes with White Chocolate. Great read. I recommend you take a warm glass of Shut the Hell Up. Get to the back of the class, Eternal Crusader. I thought I already sent you back there. Raging Horn, thank you for your £2 donation. I appreciate you. Sean Barrett for one of the best narrators. Raging Horn is just coming in here spitting facts. Raging Horn, you need to change your name to Raging M&N Horn or something. You are just dropping beats, my friend. Thank you for your donation. Absolute legend. Back to the class I go goes Eternal Crusader. If it was cheese pie instead of cheesecake, would that be better? Cultured American, back to the class. Cheese doesn't belong in pie, or actually cheese in pie works. Because you can have like your Ginster's pasty with cheese in there. You can have cheese and onion pasties and they're technically a pie. That works. Cheesy pies and cheese in pies, like shepherd's pie with cheese all over the top of the mashed potato, that works. Cheese on pie works, yes. If it was cheese pie or cheesy pie instead of cheesecake, would that be better? Yes, is the answer. Thank you, Cultured American. Thank you for being cultured. Cheese tart. Who are you calling a tart? My power size and Death Guard heads have arrived. Can finally finish my Mark III command squad. Someone's talking about 40k. Thank you. Power sides. I tell you what, the command squads in Heresy 3.0 right about now, they're quite pokey. Instead of Terminate, you know the ones, they don't have Vanguard, like Terminators and the Veterans. There's the Terminator, the Heavy Assault, and the Veterans. They have Vanguard. But in the retinue slot, those fellas, I can see a lot of them turning up. Like physically pokey? Yeah, physically pokey. Like if you stood in front, you'd get poked. Like hard. And it would be painful. Physically pokey. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10 would. But there's a whole video on that I need to do as well. Basically, I'm not going to do these videos, am I? This is me ranting about videos. These live streams have become me ranting about videos I've been thinking about making and not making. But if you come along to a Talkie Tuesday live stream, you'll get bits of the ideas in my head and bits of these videos at least. And that's a bit of content right there. So, thank you for joining me on this Talkie Tuesday live stream, and I hope you like this bit of content. And thank you for your support and subscribing and the liking. Shout out the VOD squad watching this afterwards. Shout out all Mug Club members, and shout out anyone who's subscribed or is a member to the channel. You guys are legends. I love you. Happy wargaming.